You buy a phone for $1,000. 2 years later, the battery barely makes it to lunch. That should be a simple fix. New battery. Done. But the screen is glued shut. The part is hard to get. The repair quote is so high, a new phone starts to look reasonable. And sometimes, even if the part fits, the software still throws up a warning. That is a weird experience. Because it's your phone, your money, your problem, but somehow, not your fix. So why does repairing something you bought feel like something you're not supposed to do? That question reveals a much bigger shift. A lot of modern products are sold like you own them, but designed like the company still wants control after the sale. And once you notice that, you start seeing it everywhere. For a long time, ownership came with a pretty simple assumption. If something broke, you could deal with it. You could open it, replace a part, take it to a local repair shop, keep it going. Old products were not magical. They broke too. They wore out. They had flaws. But they usually felt like they became yours after you bought them. The company made the thing. You paid for the thing. Then the control passed to you. That is what ownership used to feel like. Now compare that to a lot of modern products. Phones are sealed. Earbuds are tiny and disposable. Appliances rely on expensive boards instead of simple replaceable parts. Printers fight third-party cartridges and repairs. Even small fixes can turn into warnings, appointments, approvals, and giant bills. And that changes the feeling of the whole purchase. Because anybody can feel like they own something when it is brand new and working perfectly. The real test comes later, when the battery gets weak, when the charging port gets loose, when one earbud dies, when the button stops clicking, when a part worth a few dollars turns into a repair worth hundreds. That is when ownership gets tested. And more, that test reveals the same thing. You may own the object, but you do not fully control what happens to it. Now, to be fair, some of this is real engineering. Smaller devices are harder to open. Water resistance matters. Thin products are harder to design around repair. More electronics means more complexity. That part is real. But that is not the whole story. Because the change did not stop at engineering. It became useful for business. Easy repair is good for you. It means lower costs, longer product life, more freedom, more independence after the sale. But hard repair can be good for the company. It pushes people toward official service. It protects parts revenue. It makes replacement more likely. It keeps people inside one ecosystem, and it lets the company stay important even after checkout. That is the hidden shift. Repair stopped being just a maintenance issue. It became part of the business model. And once that happens, the design starts pointing in a different direction. A screw is friendly to repair. Glue is not. A standard part is friendly to repair. A proprietary part is not. A product that works with normal tools is friendly to repair. A product that needs special tools, special software, or company approval is not. Bit by bit, the question stops being, can this be fixed? And becomes, who is allowed to fix this? That is a very different question, because repair is not really about the battery or the screen or the little broken part. Repair is about where the power lives after the purchase, and the answer matters. When repair gets harder, the first cost is obvious. Money. A simple fault turns into a huge quote. A device with years of life left gets treated like disposable junk. A repair that should have been ordinary becomes a replacement decision. But there is another cost too. Time. Now you have to book something, wait for something, ship something, get approval for something. Hear what your options are instead of choosing them yourself. And then there is the biggest cost of all. Ownership starts to feel fake. Because what does it really mean to own something if you can only interact with it in approved ways? You can buy it, use it, charge it, update it. But the moment it breaks in the wrong way, the company suddenly matters again far more than it used to. That starts to feel less like ownership and more like managed access. And that is why this issue matters so much. Because this is not only about repair. Repair is just the moment the mask slips. It reveals a bigger pattern. More and more products are not being sold as fully independent objects. They are being sold as controlled experiences. That sounds subtle, but it changes everything. A truly owned object leaves you with options. A controlled experience leaves you with permission, and companies love permission. Permission can be limited. Permission can be priced. Permission can be delayed. Permission can be used to push you toward the next upgrade. That is why this pattern keeps appearing across totally different categories, different products, same logic. A phone that is hard to open, a printer that resists third-party parts, wireless earbuds that are easy to buy and hard to keep alive, an appliance where one failed board destroys the economics of repair. Different industries keep arriving at the same destination. The product reaches your house, but the company tries to keep part of the control. And from the company's side, that makes perfect sense. The more dependent you are on them after the sale, the more valuable that relationship becomes. More service revenue, more replacement pressure, more lock-in, more control over the product and who is allowed to touch it. That is useful for them, but it is a worse deal for you, because you take the risk of paying for the product. You live with the product, you depend on the product, you deal with the failure when it happens, but when something goes wrong, you discover your freedom around that product is smaller than you thought. That is why so many modern products feel worse in such a specific way. Not always worse on day one, worse to live with over time. That is the difference. A product can feel sleek, premium, modern, and impressive when you first unbox it, and still be quietly hostile to ownership. That is the trap. It feels advanced, but the relationship is weaker. And once you start looking at products that way, you stop asking only, "Is this good?" You start asking a better question. What happens when it breaks? That question tells you far more about whether you really own something. Because a product that is easy to repair gives you options. A product that is hard to repair gives the company leverage. And the more our products become sealed systems, the more normal that leverage starts to feel. That is the dangerous part. People get used to it. They get used to batteries that are not worth replacing, used to repairs that cost nearly as much as replacement, used to expensive products feeling temporary, used to the idea that modern means sealed, fragile, and disposable. But that should not feel normal. It should feel strange. Because it is strange. It is strange to spend real money on something and then feel blocked from keeping it alive. It is strange that products can become more advanced while ownership becomes weaker. It is strange that you bought it no longer automatically means you control it. And that is the real hidden system here. Companies are not always just selling you a product anymore. More and more, they are selling you a product while trying to keep power over what happens after the sale. That is why repair matters. It is not just about tools, batteries, and broken screens. It is about whether ownership still means what people think it means. Because when something breaks, the truth comes out. Old products broke too. But when they broke, the story was often still in your hands. Now, more and more, the company wants the final say. So when people say things aren't made like they used to be, sometimes they are talking about quality. But a lot of the time, they are talking about control. They are talking about the feeling that old products became yours, and new products never fully do. You bought it. So why can't you repair it? Because more and more, companies do not just want to sell you the thing, they want to keep power over the thing after you pay for it. And the harder it is to fix, the more that power stays with them.